Salam and hai semua. Jadi dalam episod Sidecast kali ini, kita ada bersama dengan kita seorang sport psychologist, Aiman Salim, yang mana kita akan bicarakan tentang apa itu sport psychology, apa role sebagai seorang sport psychologist, dan kat mana kita boleh belajar, dan macam-macam lagi lah yang kita akan bincangkan dalam episod Sidecast kali ini. Jadi kalau nak dengar dengan lebih lanjut, dengar podcast ni sampai habis. So, without further ado, Aiman, can you introduce yourself first?
Cool. Thank you very much, Audi. For you guys who don't know, my name is Aiman Salim, and I am a sport and exercise psychologist here in Malaysia. I have been practicing sport psychology, or have been a sport psychologist since 2020. So it's 3 years, so almost coming up to 4 years in 2024. But if you count COVID, then 2-3 years lah. But other than that, but yeah. Do you want me to introduce my studies terus?
Yeah, sure. Your studies.
Cool. So I did my foundation in Help University, and then I did my degree. So I did twinning. So my first year was in Help University. So my first year was there, in degree in psychology with clinical psychology. Clinical and health first year, and then second and third year I did my degree in Wales called Bangor University. So I graduated there with a degree in clinical and health psychology. So after my degree, I straight went on to did my masters in Bristol, specifically University of West of England, Bristol, in UK. So I did that for 1.5-ish year macam tu, from 2018 to 2019, then graduated end of the year 2019, then came back ngam before COVID in 2020. Yeah.
Oh, so what did you do? Sorry?
So yeah, that's my study. So what did I do?
Yeah. So what did you do during the COVID period?
So that is a difficult time. So
Uh-huh.
because I came back in January, end of January. So technically, I started my life in Malaysia in February lah. So in that
Mm-hmm.
February, I was looking for jobs. I was trying to find opportunities in sports psychology or even psychology. And then in March, I did land a role in a company called Mind Gap. So that is still my seniors sports psychology consultancy. So I worked with them
Ah.
for 1-2 years ish, but I'm still working with them, but as a on a project basis lah. So I did.
Ah.
So I technically I started during COVID lah with them, but
Ah.
because of COVID, there weren't much. Basically, there was no sports. There was no basically activity outside, right? So what we did
Mm.
was we tried to pivot in terms of, or maybe it's just virtual stuff, very a lot of introduction, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
getting out there kind of experience. But it was very hard in terms of sports psychology. So I had to pivot in COVID. So I had a different kind of work as a um, personal trainer, but virtual personal trainer.
Ah, that's great.
Mm-mm. So I don't know if you know a company called Naluri. So it's a
I know Naluri.
yeah.
It's a Singapore company, right?
Oh no, it's a Malaysian company.
Oh, it's a Malaysian side company.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
it's a mental health company, but they
Uh-huh.
diversify themselves with basically it's a one-stop kind of platform where there's psychologists, there's counselors, there's personal trainers, there's uh, business something can't remember, and then there's dietitian and all this kind of stuff. It's a one-stop
Ah.
kind of company or an application. So I worked with them for almost a year during
Uh-huh.
COVID and post-COVID area.
So as a personal trainer.
So as a personal trainer, while I do my sports psychology as a side income or part time at that time,
Ah, it's online based?
it's online based. Yes.
Ah. How did it feel how did it feel like to work with Naluri?
Uh, Definitely the company was good, a good
Mm-hmm.
experience, but during that time, of course, as a fresh graduate,
Uh-huh.
the heart macam always nak, okay, I want to do sports psychology, I want to do sports psychology, because
Oh.
yeah, because obviously I love doing sports psychology, I love learning it, I love practicing it. So while working at Naluri, of course, it was a good time, but
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the heart always wants you, no, this is not what I'm meant to be, this is not what I'm meant to do, that
Mm.
kind of stuff, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's always tengah fikir, okay, macam mana nak keluar daripada naluri ni to start my own like sports psychology consultancy or business or get more clients, that kind of stuff lah. But
Oh.
then again, I have to think, okay, mana nak cari duit ni? So dia kena fikir dua lah
Modal
kan.
kan, modal.
Modal, betul. But yeah, but it was a lot of fun. It was hard because me and a lot of my friends, we had to pivot because of COVID. Because semua tak, it's hard to get the job that we studied for, so we had to
Mm-hmm.
pivot, maybe out of our scope, that kind of stuff lah.
So if I may ask,
Hmm.
who are the founders, or who is it, the founder of Mindful Athlete? Is it you or your friends or
So the mindful athlete, it is myself. So I founded the
uh
mindful athlete because this year, early of the year, I decided to do sports psychology full time. So in the
uh
process, I had a like epiphany or talk to with myself, like, okay, let's just start a consultancy and just see how it goes. So I started the
mm,
mindful athlete, try to be a little bit more serious in my work as a sports psychologist, try to get like proper full time income from that.
mm.
Mhm.
So now you're doing full time lah.
So, so I'm still doing two jobs right now. So I'm
Oh.
doing the mindful athlete, if you like to see it, as full time, and also a strength trainer at a gym in Plaza Damas or Hartamas. Because again, I still need
Ah.
to think of the income that I need to have lah.
I
Yeah.
see. So macam mana market dekat Malaysia? Cik, boleh apa-apa lagi dah tanya market.
So technically the market, uh, in short, if I nak bagi short answer,
Hmm.
ramai nak.
Oh.
Ramai nak,
Tu dekat
but
mana? KL base lah.
as far as I know, KL base ada dekat luar, tapi for now I tak pergi, my apa ni, my scope tak jauh sangat, or my,
Lembah
so
Kelang.
KL ramai.
Can I say
Lembah
that?
Kerang. The
Hmm.
furthest that I went was Seremban.
Oh,
Ada
Seremban.
ada
Actually, that was my hometown.
oh, Seremban.
Yeah, Seremban. I used to live in Seremban. My parents are in Seremban.
Dekat mana?
Dekat, if you know Taman Bukit Margosa?
Oh no, because
No.
my wife
Ampangan,
is,
Ampangan.
my wife is Lavender High. Is there anywhere close there?
Oh, yes, very much
Oh,
near.
okay.
Yes, near
So
to
yeah,
that place actually.
yeah. So my wife is from there lah. So
I
area.
see.
Mm-mm. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
back to the topic. Oh, come
Okay,
on.
sure.
So the market, I would say there's a market for it, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, the challenge for it is the payment. The payment, number one, and
Mm.
number two is sometimes the management, which is either the investors, the coaches, or the higher
Mm-hmm.
ups.
Mm.
They don't see it as necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So the payment wise is, they obviously, if I want to be working with them,
Mm-hmm.
I have my own set of fees. I have my own, basically what my worth is, right? So sometimes it's too
Mm-hmm.
expensive to them. So if I work with them, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Or sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the budget because they don't have, an amateur team might not have a budget to pay for sports psychologists, or
Mm-hmm.
even professional team, they don't have the budget because they don't want to pay for everything else, the other coaches,
Mm-hmm.
the other players that are a little bit more expensive, etc., etc. Lah. So all this,
Uh,
the two pillars are the hardest, or the challenges that for me I have lah, in terms of my 2-3 years as a sports psychologist. But the market is there,
uh,
uh, especially young athletes. Young athletes meaning around the 20s,
mm.
under 30s, even parents. Parents love sports psychology.
Mm-mm.
but sometimes they are a bit too gung ho. Like I had one client who the parents, the dad lah, is a badminton uh, enthusiast lah. So her
Mm.
daughter is 8 years old when I was working with them lah. And
Mm-hmm.
then he said, "Oh, my daughter will be the next Lee Chong Wei, but the girl version, that kind of stuff." But she's only 8 years old. She baru start main like two,
Uh-huh.
3 months
Uh-huh.
ago, that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know? So
Uh-huh.
parents love sports psychology, all that, the mental side of things.
Faham.
Yeah, but the market's there.
I see.
Mm-mm.
So, yelah kalau dah kata business, orang yang business minded ni, um, market tak ada pun, we create the market, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so Aiman, without further ado, let's, I mean, before we jump into the more detailed part, right? Kita masuk definition dulu. What is actually sport psychology?
Oof.
Hmm.
So tu kena Google je boleh.
Oh, Google. Boleh, boleh, boleh.
No, I think there's definitely a book version of the answer, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as I would answer it in my own terms, is sports psychology is a a way to increase performance for the athlete in terms of the mental side of things. So that is my version of things. Specifically, we look at the emotional side, the of course the thought process, and also the well-being of that athlete lah. So the
Mm-hmm.
three pillars for me lah, I don't know about other sports psychologists, but these are my three main pillars, which is the thought process, the emotional well-being, the emotional side, and also the well-being of that person.
What
Because
about
that's
motivation?
so motivation is, I think, is the part of the emotional, the thought
Uh,
process. So it's an umbrella term lah, those three things.
uh,
And then there's a lot of stuff like you said, motivation. There's confidence. There's
mm,
technique like much of self talk, all this kind of stuff lah.
mm-hmm.
So
I
definitely there's a
see.
book version of it which is more elaborate or eloquent, but that's my version
Uh-huh.
of it lah.
Okay, faham.
Mm-mm.
So, what sport do you do? I forgot to ask.
Oh, me, my main sport is football and also
Mm-hmm.
volleyball lah. But I do play
Oh,
a lot of other sports like flag football. I played ultimate frisbee, all this kind of stuff lah.
have you ever played basketball?
Basketball I did here and there, but not like so much lah. My sweet spot itu je lah.
Gitu-gitulah.
Because a lot of
Mm.
people ask me lah to play, not to play, but have asked me, do I play volleyball or basketball? Because
Hmm.
I am on the tallest side of thing, on the tallest side lah.
Uh-uh.
Okay, so yeah, that's why.
Faham.
But tak main lah sangat.
Faham. It's
Mm-mm.
okay. All right. So you took around 5 years approximately, right, to get into this field.
Yeah, 4 ish, five macam tu
Yeah,
lah.
4 or 5 years, right?
Mm-mm.
So, what about the journey, the pathway? Where can we bring ourselves to get into this field? The
Mm.
into the sports psychology field.
Yep. So after school, definitely either foundation or diploma, and then you have to obviously take the psychology route lah.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if you're doing a degree, definitely a degree in psychology, and then as a sports psychologist, you have to do a master's in sport and exercise psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
then this is only in Malaysia. So after you do dah buat masters tu, in Malaysia, okay, this is kena bold, in Malaysia you can practice straight away because there's no
Mm-hmm.
specific governing body yang jaga,
Uh-huh.
right? So but if you go out like the UK, for example, because I studied there,
Mm-hmm.
technically we cannot practice, number one, and we cannot call ourselves sport and exercise psychologists because we are sport and exercise psychology graduate. So kita bukan sport exercise psychologist lagi.
Uh-huh.
Right? So in the UK, after the masters, kita kena buat lagi certification um, under BPS, which is British Psychological Association. There's three routes, if I'm not mistaken. One is called basis, which is let me just cari now. What does it mean? Basis, so par and professional doctorate. So if basis, it is British Association of Sport and Exercise Science. So dia campur kalau you dah buat masters in sport psychology or even masters in exercise science, you boleh pergi ke that route if you want to be a sport psychologist. So yeah,
Hmm.
the first one is basis. Number two is SEPAR. If you dah habis masters sport and exercise psychology, you boleh pergi that route, which is called SEPAR means apa? Sport and Exercise Psychology Accreditation Route. So
Hmm.
two, you can go the second one, and number third is professional doctorate, which is dia macam PhD, but it's more heavy on the sorry, it's mixed with apa ni
Practical.
practical. That's the one. Yep.
Hmm.
Ada the practical and ya dia punya paper juga lah kan. Kalau if I'm
Ah.
not mistaken, PhD dia more to on the research side of things, right? If
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
mistaken lah.
Hmm.
So those are the three main routes if you want to be a sports psychologist in the UK. After the master, yang all three routes though can be around 1, 2, 3 or more years. So it
Hmm.
depends on how long you take. Is it part time? Is it full time? That kind of stuff.
I see. I heard that in the UK
Yep.
memang dia jaga kan, macam ada body yang jaga kan.
Yep. Betul.
Especially as far as I know, macam clinical kan.
Hmm.
They, in order for them to practice in clinical, they should have PsyD, is it?
Saidi.
Yeah, psychological doctorate. If I'm not mistaken, I tak
For
tahulah betul ke
clinical,
tak.
for clinical, I can't really say because I don't really know, but it sounds about right lah. Macam ada lagi
Uh,
dia punya certification lagi
uh,
lah.
kan
Hmm.
dia macam, so it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Dia takkan stop dekat master je.
Yeah.
Lepas tu you kena practice lagi, ada practical examination lagi apa semua kan.
Yeah. Betul.
Ah,
Hmm.
so
So
what is your vision? What is your
vision
vision for sports psychology in Malaysia?
in Malaysia, I
uh-uh.
think my vision is hopefully in 5 years or 10 years. I would say the closest would be 5 years, where sports psychology will be better known in Malaysia. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
how I look at it is from maybe from amateur to professional,
Mm-hmm.
specifically professional teams. Like if you look at football teams or badminton teams, either individual or team sport,
Mm-hmm.
one team or at least one organization needs to have or will have hopefully a psychology unit or a psychology team in
Mm-hmm.
the organization itself. So hopefully in
Mm-hmm.
that 5 to 10 years time, because if you look at as far as I know, ISN definitely have lah, but for the Malaysian athletes.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside of things is very saturated. Macam 3, 4, 5 orang psychologists for the whole national team. So they need to
Mm.
pick um, siapa yang akan dapat gold medal, for example. Then okay, dia je boleh dapat that sports psychology
Oh.
services. So it's not everyone lah. So
Ah, I see.
and BAM ada psychologist, but I don't know if it's sports psychologist or psychologist biasa. BAM
Mm.
ada. And apa lagi? Oh, as far as I know, Dato' Azizul Hasni Awang punya team,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
him, the team himself, there is a psychologist part of his team. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know who it is, but I pernah buat research, memang ada psychologist part of his.
Ah.
Mm.
So
So, yeah.
macam dalam diam ada jugalah atlet Malaysia ni dapat
Ya, betul.
support kan?
Dia macam terkejut jugalah, to be fair.
Kan?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Alright. So what about the importance of sports psychologists? Yelah, macam sebelum ni, even macam I do sports, right? So macam
Mm.
I tahu, oh, having a coach is enough just for the sake of nak grasp the tactical,
Mm.
nak jaga your emotion pun coach juga.
Yeah.
Sebab itu macam coach buat macam-macam lah kan.
Yeah, betul.
So what do you think the importance of sports psychologists?
So if you were to ask me rate from 1 to 10, the importance is definitely 10, because macam you
Mhm.
cakap, kalau you tengok amateur or you tengok semi-pro, even professional team,
Hmm.
macam you cakap, coach buat semua benda. Coach
Uh-uh.
adalah dia
Mm-mm.
punya tactical coach, skill
Mm-mm.
coach, if ada defense coach, offense coach, dia je lah coach tu, and then
Mm.
dia pula jadi psychologist of the team,
Mm-mm.
so dia jadi nutrition pula of the team, so semua
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
that roles semua jadi dia.
Mm-mm.
So of course it's good to listen to the coach, but we as a professional sports psychologist, we are experts in the human side of things. The coach
Mm.
boleh take care of the emotional side, of course, but it's not as, I would say, there's a bit ego coming in as well. It's not as maybe good as us who has learned what sports psychology actually is, how the human thinks, reacts, responds, all this kind of stuff, because that is our expertise. So
Mhm.
I would like to think that we are improving the head coach punya job, where he can focus on his role as a coach lah, and then we can take care, or I can take care of the emotional side or the human side of
Hmm.
the players or the team itself. Mm. So it's
So
very important lah.
do you do like a talk therapy or something?
Uh, how I work, is it?
Yeah.
So yes, if you would imagine, it's something like being a counselor, lah, if that's the shortest version. So
Uh,
it's almost like a counselor, but for me, how I work, it's a thing called motivational interviewing,
uh,
where I lead them to the answer. I tak bagi jawapan, if that makes sense.
mm,
So macam kalau dia macam confidence down, I don't, even though maybe I have an assumption of why their confidence is down, I like to ask them questions. Oh, what happened? Or when did it start to happen where you feel like your confidence is a little bit down? When did it start? What did you notice? How did your body react? What do you think? What happened in the environment? Did the coach say something to you? Or did you say something to
mm,
yourself? And then it's tiny, 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 tiny. Oh, actually, it's not from the coach. It's just from me. It's like how I talk, how I speak to myself
uh,
because of that certain incident, all this kind of stuff. So that's major. Like if you were to ask me how I work, that's how I like to work. I ask questions,
mhm,
I thought, and then they hopefully pergi to that answer that I want them to have, or that they want to have lah.
mm,
Obviously, I macam reroute sikit, and then
mhm.
hopefully we'll get there lah.
So do you have like a specific approaches, like for example humanistic approach or
Mm.
CBT or something?
For me, it's the human side of thing, or the humanistic approach.
Mm-mm.
Obviously, I would. There's a little bit of CBT, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert, so I ambil
Ambil sikit-sikit.
sikit. Yeah, because for me, like for myself, I focus on the human, and then I
Mm,
focus on like the CBT of things and the behavioral, the thoughts, all this kind of stuff, right? Because
mhm,
for me, it's a mix lah. If you were to ask me, you just pick one, I cannot pick one lah. If that makes sense.
mm. That's really macam faham lah, macam
Hmm.
sangat sangat membantu lah actually dalam, especially in even I can say macam dalam team amateur pun we need sport psychologists
Yeah,
kan,
betul. Mm-mm.
sebab I had an experience
Mm.
where my coach dia lempang I, pam.
Oh, yo, tu
Ah.
okay. Oh, damn.
Tapi dia alamak. Dia harapnya coach jangan tengok. Tak adalah. Tapi ya macam I macam tak kisah pun dia lempang, sebab macam dah biasa dah kena lempang,
Mm.
sebab
Yeah.
when you do mistakes and all. Tapi
Mm.
I kinda my value, I kinda against that ni lah, macam approach lah, the way how you tegur
Mm.
your players.
Yeah.
Sebab
bila you are in a game mode, macam you tengah dalam tournament punya setting,
Yep.
you mood you mesti macam tak nak terganggu kan. Mestilah
Yep.
mood you nak elevated kan.
Betul.
So
Uh,
um, I rasa macam coaches ni bila dia macam terbeban dengan a lot of things, dia lah kena jaga pemakanan, dia lah kena jaga
mm,
tactical, dia lah kena jaga kebajikan, well-being
yeah, all the players.
players. um, Somehow dia akan affect um, dia punya emotion juga.
Betul.
It
Definitely.
affect dia punya emotion, and then that leads them to project
Mm,
the anger dekat players.
yeah.
So the question is, macam mana kalau value coach dengan sport psychologist ni tak align?
Oof.
uh, Macam you guys akan macam consult the coach juga ke, ataupun coach buat kerja coach, sport psychologist buat kerja sport psychologist?
The ideal world,
Uh-huh.
both would run the same line lah. Meaning,
Hmm.
kita work together lah. Because
Mm-hmm.
as far as my experience, I worked with one basketball team,
Mm-hmm.
like football national team, and then uh, ada squash punya team. The
Mm-hmm.
coaches dengan I memang kena align lah, because I nak tahu from the coach, and the coach
Mm-hmm.
needs to know from me as well, like specific players, that because bila I masuk a team, I don't know anything lah. So the
Mm-hmm.
first thought that I would have is always, okay, go to the coach. Okay, what do you see, coach? What do you see? Is there any challenges in specific players or the whole team, or what do you want from me to improve? Because
Mm-hmm.
if dia tak bagi tahu, then my kerja lagi susah. Then I have to go do the groundwork lah. I have to talk to the
Mm-hmm.
place itself. But bayangkan ada outsider tiba-tiba datang, oh, you okay tak? Oh, asal doh dengan team, dia macam rasa
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I have the backing from the head coach or the coaches, my job will be a lot easier, if that makes sense. So I rely on the coach, and in some way the coach relies on me too. Where if I talk to a certain player or a group of players, obviously he needs to know lah, like what are the main challenges, or
Mm-hmm.
what did I see from my point of view, because I see the human side of things. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he sees that, or the coach sees that player A and B is the troublemaker lah, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk to the players itself, the team, it's not A and B. It's sebenarnya C pula yang buat masalah. All this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important for the coach and sports psychologist to work in alignment lah, I would say.
Faham.
Because the coaches know the players a lot longer than I have lah. So the
So,
tendencies.
okay, my last question. Kalau ada pergaduhan, ada
Oh,
quarrel among players,
yeah.
did you solve? Do you solve the quarrel, the pergaduhan?
Oh, that I would say depends as well, because luckily for me, I tak pernah. Let me just think. I do got experience. Okay, ada juga lah. I had one.
Ada.
Ada juga lah. Ada flag football national team. Ada
Mm-hmm.
uh, heated discussion lah. Bukan pergaduhan, like physical heated discussion,
Okay.
where it's in a friendly match where one player just exploded, where dia tiba-tiba marah,
Hmm.
the whole team, and that person was the captain lah. Obviously,
Oh.
in a way, tak sedap lah orang cakap kan, and the morale terus shoot down.
Mm-mm.
Co-captain pun macam dia, sebab dia got heated discussion with the co-captain lah, all this
Mm-mm.
kind of stuff. So obviously, I advise, or the coach and I talk, like, okay, how do
Mm-hmm.
we handle this? So that's why the relationship needs to be tight with me and the coaches. That's a good example there. We decided that, okay, I'll talk to the captain and co-captain separately first, get
Mhm.
their view, and then I'll report back to the coach, and then we decide or we discuss, okay, how do we approach this? Do
Mhm.
I get the two captains together and talk it out,
Mhm.
or it's the coach yang buat? So sometimes I yang akan buat, where I bring the two individuals akan
Mhm.
bercakap, where I'll be the middle person lah, and then I'll just
Oh.
um, let the person A share, and then person B share, and then I'll macam get to a uh, persefahaman lah, where
Hmm.
maybe bila A cakap, B punya interpretation dia lain. So then, okay,
Mm.
no, it's not like that. Maybe it's like this. What the
Mm.
person is saying is A, B, C, and D lah. So dia
Mhm.
bukan yang macam assumption sebab semua tengah marah. So I'll be
Mm.
the middleman. So that's the first option. But the option that we decided was the coach had pergi talk to the individuals together. Okay, like you're co-captains, you should not do this, should not do that. Aiman has advised me about
Mhm.
certain stuff, and then they went on and reached to an agreement of, okay, how do we handle this moving forward, kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ways to handle it. Like I said, maybe I can handle it or the coach can handle it, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But for the recent experience, is the coach technically with me, but the coach yang
Mhm.
akan jadi the spearhead of that discussion lah, if that makes sense.
Faham? Okay, this is seriously the last question.
Go ahead. I
uh,
have time.
okay. Wait, what do you think is the best way untuk tegur your teammates kalau if they ever do mistakes?
Oh, so it depends as well. There's a lot of depends memang either if it's in training or if
Mm-hmm.
it's in competition, or is it you and the teammate alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how the teammate is as
All
well.
right, let's just say in during the training and during the game.
During the training and during the game.
Mm-mm.
If it's in training, then it depends on that person,
Mm.
because each person, they have a different way of receiving information or receiving constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So the first way that I would advise someone to go, someone who does a mistake, is know that teammate itself. So if the teammate yang jenis yang boleh straightforward tegur yang, okay, kau tak boleh buat macam ni, kau kena buat macam ni, then
Mm.
maybe that person likes it. Or second option is bawa dia ke tepi, if you rapat dengan dia lah, bawa dia ke
Mm-hmm.
tepi, cakap, I know it's good that you're trying to do this, but maybe you can do this instead. So instead of
Mm.
just point out dia punya kesilapan,
Mm-hmm.
you encourage him or encourage that person first. Like, hey, you're doing good. I see your effort, all this kind of stuff. But I think maybe my suggestion would be we should do this instead. What do you?
Mm-hmm.
So dia bukan jenis shoot down terus. Dia lift that person up, give suggestions, and then just ask for their feedback itself.
Mm-hmm.
So because if kita shoot down terus, people akan naturally semua akan defensive.
Betul.
Kan, bila kita tengah main, for example basketball, tiba dah membuat two pointer tak ready, macam asal kau shoot doh. So,
Ha ha.
ya aku
Uh,
open kan. So macam
uh,
dia ada
uh.
defensive tau. Kadang-kadang if kita tengah heat of the moment, obviously kita macam you cakap, nak in that zone, in that focus, kita
Mm-hmm.
akan buat je, because we feel that okay, that's the right decision. But
Mm-mm.
if it's in macam tengah gameplay, maybe we cakap, okay, it's okay, maybe next one, but ni kita encourage, and then we just see how it goes. If kita kat luar, then we tarik dia keluar sikit, macam it's
Mm-mm.
good you trying this, but I think it's better if we play as a team. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff lah. But
Uh,
for mistakes, is if it's in game, my suggestion would be just encourage. First, just straight away encourage,
mm-hmm.
because in it, because if we bercakap, jangan buat macam tu, jangan buat macam ni, we akan
Mm-hmm.
still fikir, okay, tak boleh buat ni, tak boleh buat tu. Tapi in the
Mm-mm.
game, we need to think of what we want to do or what we
Mm-hmm.
can do, instead of what we don't want to do, what
Oh,
we
mm-hmm.
cannot do, all this kind of stuff. So instead of negative thinking, it's more positive thinking in that
Mm-hmm.
step forward lah.
So instead of saying like, "Oi, jangan buat tu, jangan buat ni," you
Mm.
just macam, "Oh, lepas ni kau buat macam ni pula."
Macam tu,
Kan?
yeah. Yeah, so
Ah.
macam encourage before ni encourage, bagus tu kau buat tu, but bagus tapi mungkin kita boleh buat ni kot. Kita boleh pass dulu. Then
Ah.
kita buat macam tu. Okay lah. Dia macam at least dia macam still nak gang lagi lah kononnya kan. So
Konstruktif lah. In a way.
constructive lah. Yeah, betul.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my way lah of seeing it.
I see. Alright, very well. Thank you so much, Aiman. We have come to an end. Kita punya
Yeah.
session. Dia sekejap je. Tak boleh
Okay.
lama-lama.
Kejap, boleh,
Nanti
boleh.
macam ambil your time juga.
Hmm.
Nanti audience pun macam malas nak dengar. So kita
Faham.
buat half an hour pun cukup.
I get it, I get it. Boleh.
So before I end this session, Aiman, do you have any last word to say? Nak promote mindful athlete ke? Sure.
Yep. Boleh, boleh. Ni lah. If you guys are interested in sports psychology, please do learn it, do practice it, and please just come to the mindful athlete lah. We can work together because, like I said, my vision is to have that team of sports psychologists in Malaysia, and hopefully you'll grow bigger and better in Malaysia. Sports psychology and sports psychologists, I'll say. So Instagram, the mindful athlete, or even my Instagram lah.
Okay. Nanti I letak. Alright. Again, thank you so much, Aiman Salim, for your time. Especially kita record ni during the holiday kan. Thank
Betul.
you very much untuk ni lah sudi jadi a part of our guest speaker. And to those who haven't followed my Instagram, who haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so that I can produce more content related to psychology, mental health, and self-growth. I think with that, we end our session.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.